Welcome back to the Dale and Dylan show. I think I'm going to rename the channel here. Flat Track Factory is on another field trip. Dale, so I've got one of the more viewed videos on the channel about what is flat track body position and how to get it.
It must have been one I wasn't in.
Yeah. So I got a comment the other day that I was like, come on, man. He's like, 10,000 words and all you say is practice. I'm like, okay. And then a buddy actually called and asked the same question. So I think we need to revisit it. I wrote this down. I had a script. I talked to the camera. I had some suggestions. So it didn't work, or we need to do it again. Let's get it from your idea.
There's two pieces to that.
Okay.
One is, and everybody knows this, right? Because you're basically an ex-pro, right?
Okay.
And you learn the fundamentals when you're a kid, when it was easy.
Yeah.
And you had some good teachers.
And the ground was way softer.
Maybe. Your bones definitely were. That you absorbed information at a rapid rate. And for you, it was just so easy, and you were competitive first weekend, and you became more and more competitive as time went on. If someone had actually taken you under their wing and given you a real ride, who knows where you might have ended up, right? Let's not even get into that piece, right? It's just like myself. You could talk forever and
ifs, buts, candies, nuts.
Right. So what I think happens is you helped me the very first weekend I went over and asked you, hey, I need some help. Point blank, I don't want to hear the crap. Just tell me what it is, and this is what we're going to do. And you started helping me, right?
Yep.
And one of the first things you did was roll some towels up, put it on the seat. We taped it to the seat. You were trying to keep me forward. But what you were really trying to do was keep some weight on the front wheel. You're trying to get it off the rear wheel so the rear wheel stopped plowing the front wheel.
Yeah.
And because I had some weight on the front wheel, it gave me some input, so I had some idea what the hell I was doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I think people that ride on the back of the bike come to me and they want to tell me what the motorcycle's doing, and I don't even want to hear that. That's irrelevant. The motorcycle should never be doing that because you can't ride a motorcycle sitting back there. So they're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. You gotta.
They're trying to solve a problem they caused. It exists. They caused it though, right?
Okay. Yeah,
it definitely exists, but they caused it. So on that front, we have a school we help out called Connor Spin, and it's XR100s in dirt, and it's a road race track, and 18 million layouts. And we got this one really technical, tight layout that we do. And I get the kids I take all my road race kids over there, and I get the kids to ride it, and then I pull them back on the seat, ride it, 5 laps, then push them forward on the seat. It's like sitting on the gas cap forward on the seat, ride it. And every time they stop, you ask them a question. Well, when you push them forward, most of them will say, oh yeah, that's definitely a little better, whatnot, so on. But what happens is they adjust for being back on the seat, and they realize that the thing is really lazy because it's all in the rear weight. It's really lazy, and then when it finally does something, it just goes woof. It wants to fall over, but it's got like tons of energy falling over, and you struggle to get it to stop falling over and get it to pick back up. It feels like you're sitting 10 feet up in the air on it, right? Well, then when you put them forward on the seat, and now they're up on the front wheel, and they're centered in the motorcycle, and their elbows up, and the motorcycle's dancing underneath them, they're centered in the motorcycle, so everything it's doing doesn't bother them.
They're not on the pendulum end of the motorcycle.
Yeah, they're not on the pendulum end, right? They're dead not center. So the thing's just pivoting underneath them, and they could care less. And they start within 2 laps, they're freaking flying. By their 5th lap, they're really doing some speed. So then because it gets easier and easier and easier, when you stop them that time and say, hey, what was the difference? They say, oh, it was a little better. It seemed to turn a little better, but I maybe didn't have as much rear traction. I'm like, but in a lap time, you were way faster that time than you were the time before. Well, maybe. I'm like, okay. Then you put them back on the seat again. And because they just went from easier, 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 and you fire them back on the seat again, they're not allowed to move, and send them back out. They don't make turns. They're running over the outside tires. They're running over the berms. They're running off the racetrack. They're doing everything but making the turn. because it just went from so easy to now they can't accomplish crap, right? So where I'm going with this is when you get him in the right body position, in the right situation at the right time, it's so easy, you don't even have to think about riding. It'll basically ride itself. You get in the wrong position, in the wrong spot of the motorcycle, and it's near impossible to ride it. No matter what you try and do, you can't get it accomplished. So our problem, I think, I'm going to say our problem in answering this is it can only be answered in the right context. Let's not run the gamut of answers. Let's answer it like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, which would be, I don't care if you ride a vintage TT500 in a stock frame deraked, you should be sitting on the gas cap as far forward. That tank should be up under you, up under your butt cheeks. Let's call them that.
Okay.
As far forward as you can get. So even with big, huge monkey handlebars on it, you're just sitting there like this. And I've told this story on this channel multiple times. I have a TT500 that I race, and I have this one guy, Singleton, that we race, and he drives me freaking insane. Then I'm out there for all I'm worth, foot out, sideways in, sideways out, and he's out there going, blah, 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 blah. He never moves. His hands wiggle a couple of times, and you see his wrist go down, his wrist come back up, and his hands wiggle a couple of times. He never moves. He just sits there. He's 70 years old, and he's freaking driving away from me. I'm back there. Killing myself. I'm sweating like a pig. Just all I'm freaking worth. I get off. I need a freaking nap. And he gets off and gets on his vintage 250 and does the same thing, except now it goes ding, 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 ding. He just sits there.
I bet you guys are wondering where I'm getting all these sound effects from.
Right.
It's all the editing software.
But body position to me, for this video, for anybody that's watching, right? Not the top AFT guy. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to the basic guy.
Although we just were a few minutes ago.
Yeah, all those guys call me. I'm telling you, you'd be amazed how many people call here asking questions. That the key is centered on the motorcycle, not where you want to sit. I don't care where you want to sit. Everybody that's out there watching is sitting in the wrong spot. You're way too far back. It's not where you want to sit. It's as far forward as you can freaking get. Watch any video, watch any AFT race. Every kid is up on the gas cap as far forward as he can get on the seat, getting in the turn. You can watch them go woof and pull themselves forward. And they make the turn, and as they come off the turn, they slide back. And they get to the turn, and woof, they pull themselves forward again, right? They need to be in the center of the motorcycle because they need weight on the front tire. They need the motorcycle to pivot under them. So all the actions don't affect them.
I can hear them typing right now. They're saying, yeah, but I'm on a, and they're going to insert their motorcycle.
It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're on a Benelli, 250 Benelli 6-cylinder. It's as far forward as you can get on the seat. It should be uncomfortable. You're so far forward. You cannot put enough weight on the front wheel on a flat track motorcycle, right? You just can't. The key to everything is get the front tire to bite the racetrack, whatever that means, to bite the racetrack. And as soon as you have some feeling in your hands, you'll dare to accomplish something else, right? Then that's what you helped me the very first time. You rolled up the rag, stuck it on my seat.
Yeah,
and you stuck me on the gas cap. And I'm freaking like, dude, I can't ride like this, right? I'm freaking sitting on the motorcycle like this. I can't ride like this. He's like, well, you don't really need to lean that far forward. Just sit up. And I'm like, okay, that feels a little better. He says, that's it. Maybe a little forward to get in. The motorcycle's going to pivot under you. And you might lean forward just a tick to keep the weight on the front wheel. And then when it's time to get on the gas, just transition to upper body back. You don't need to move, right? You stay stuck in the center.
Later on, you can move, but we're talking about just body position.
Just body position.
Well,
right?
Dale is talking today. I wanted to give him a chance because he was a beginner not too long ago and has a great way of
still a beginner.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm still learning too. But lost my train of thought. Might be a weird cut here. I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, sorry. I got my thought back. One of the fun things listening to Dale talk about the front end is beginners often say, "God, how'd you? I saw you kick the rear out, or the rear went out." And I don't think I ever think about it that way. The rear tire never comes out. The front tire, flat tracking is all about the front tire. It just looks like it's about the rear tire.
So
the front tire gets turned that way where the track's going, and the rear tire's got no weight on it.
So what really happens is, if you get it right, and I keep on saying that on purpose, because it's a joke right up until it happens, and then you're like, oh, that's what he meant. Like that light bulb at some point has to go off. What really happens is, and that's why some of the pro guys call here, because I'm good with the geometry end, is I help fix their motorcycle, is when the front wheel actually does its job and turns down under, the front wheel is trying to go inside the racetrack. So it's called centripetal force, finding center. Centripetal force.
We'll put a picture up here of a local short track of my bike. You actually can watch the tire being pulled off of the rim and the tire understeering.
Right. But because the front is actually biting the racetrack and turning down under, the back wants to just spin out around it, because the back loses its traction because you get it laid over and all the weight's on the front, right? So the back, like a pendulum, starts pivoting around. So you don't go in and drag the brake and pitch the thing sideways. The problem with doing that is, as soon as you let go of the brake, it's straightening itself back out, because nothing's holding it sideways other than the brake. The way you guys do it is you get the front wheel to bite about 3/4 of the way down the straightaway. You start driving the thing in, but you're driving it on the front wheel. So
that's why we always make this motion with our hands.
Yeah, you're driving it on the front wheel. So here's something, I can prove it. I can 100% prove it. 90% of the people that are watching, including me, not on my Kawasaki because I had killer Durell suspension, but on my vintage bike, the first couple of weeks I rode it, what happens is when you go to get it on the front end, none of the front ends are built unless you've got real forks on it, Honda F2 or Yamaha R6 forks on it. None of the forks are built. So the front end just instantly goes, it goes down, because there's no suspension, there's not enough spring, there's not enough dampening. When the suspension goes down, the trail goes away. This is complicated, but the end result is the thing just instantly turns. Well, you don't want it to turn. Not like that. It freaks you out. So then you ease up on the bars, and then the thing picks itself back. Now it wants to run right. And then you go through the beginning of the turn, the thing's going, like turn, no turn, turn, no turn. It's because the forks are going up and down, that you'd be better off putting 2 rods in the forks and holding it freaking solid. You'd be way faster to a point, right? Because you'd have zero geometry. The geometry stayed the same the whole time. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I think that's the biggest body position problem people have, is they're confusing motorcycle geometry in body position. Well, when I do this, it does that. Well, of course it does that. You finally get yourself forward, and you finally get the front tire to work, and you finally get the motorcycle to turn. Well, as soon as it turns, it's energy, right? The tire's trying to go to center, and the motorcycle's trying to go straight. So they're running over one another's. And that energy makes the front end go down. And as soon as the front end goes down, you took the trail away, and the thing wants to go to the grass, right? Well, you're not ready for the grass. And you ease up on the bars ever so slightly, and now the front end pops back up, and because it overcomes up, because it had energy.
So now that we've gone into geometry here, now let's bring it back to the actionable strategy for the rider.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, just to clarify, those two are so hand in hand at the beginning of trying to figure this out. You can't find it.
Is there one bigger? Would you rather have the perfect suspension and sit on the seat, or?
So I can answer that. I think I can answer that. Our buddy Mike O'Neill, has
the brake engineer you've seen on our channel.
Yeah, 1953 Indians. He has a whole fleet of them.
49.
49. All right, 49 Indians. And the whole fleet was handed down to him because they wanted someone that would respect the motorcycles and treat them what they deserve to be treated like, and get guys to ride them the way they deserve to be ridden. So a few months ago, whenever it was, I happened to be at the racetrack helping somebody, and he walks over to me and says, "Hey, you got your shoe?" I'm like, "Yeah." I don't want to ride, but yeah. He's like, "Well, get your shoe on. You got to come over here. You got to ride. Someone didn't show up." I don't even know what he's talking about. And I'm like, I didn't even ask because I know better. I go, all right. So I go clonking over there, cling, cling, cling. And he says, "Here, take this." And he hands me this 1949 Indian. Well, I'm not that good of a rider, right? So I'm like, what am I going to do with this stupid thing, right? They probably make 8 horse. So I go out and it's, blah, 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 blah.
I'm not exaggerating.
Blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't take you 2 seconds to realize, well, I can't let go of the throttle because it only makes 8 horse. I don't need to step on the brake because it only makes 8 horse. What I need to do is get just past the starter's box wide open and pull myself forward just a little, even though it's a triangle seat, because 1949, right? It's a triangle seat. Is pull myself forward just enough that I can feel the motorcycle squat. And when it squats, it'll start turning all by itself because I got the weight on the front wheel, right?
Did you notice how far you're sitting back from the steering stem on those things?
Yeah, I mean, you're like this,
insane.
right? So, but it only took this much of ass movement. I'm 240 pounds. And I could feel the front end move, and as soon as the front end moved, the thing would turn in by itself. And I'd let it turn in, I'd just crack the throttle, and I'd just get past center, and if nothing happened, I'd make myself open the throttle, even though I didn't want to open it yet. I only make 8 horse. I'd make myself open the throttle, and then I'd pick my foot back up, and I'd blah, 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 and you could hear the piston in the cylinder by the time you get to the end of the straightaway, and you'd crack the throttle off again, and I got to the point I could not quite put my foot down. I just had it touching the dirt. I was going to say pavement. Just touching the dirt, and I'd back on the throttle.
Dale,
I led 6 laps in the main event out of 8.
Yeah, okay,
I led 6 laps in the main event. I killed him on the whole shot. I led the whole thing. They were up beside me umpteen times. Now, Dylan was outside me, sideways on his, wide open the whole time.
Put on a show.
Putting on a show, and I'm trying to roll the center, right? So I know he was faster, but when it was over, they beat me by 2 bike lengths. And my whole point to the story is, I went back to, because it only made 8 horse, and I didn't override it, I went back to exactly what we talk about, which is, you got to get enough weight on the front wheel so it'll work. You got to sit still, right? Don't be pushing the motorcycle over and up and you sliding and moving forward and back. Just freaking sit still until you get a handle on it. Just ride the motorcycle. Just ride the motorcycle. Fat, lazy, and stupid. Just ride the motorcycle. I went in, I knew what the front wheel was doing, and as soon as I even thought I felt secure, I made myself go wide open. Now you're going to go half throttle, right? In half throttle, and then finally you get the wide open. You might get the wide open for like 0.2 of a second. You'll be shutting the throttle off again to get back in. Don't override it getting off. Don't override it getting in.
You know what's really fun? You just described riding a twin on the Springfield Mile.
There you go.
It's exactly the same sensation. Right. Blah, blah, blah. You're on the gas. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, because the track is so big, right?
Yep.
Right. But it's the same thing.
It's exactly the
right. But I needed 8 horse. At 60 horse, I can't comprehend it, right? I'm not that good. I don't have time to process because there's so much crap going on.
Yeah, so that's why we talk about the XR100s. Like, if you can't make 100 go fast,
yeah,
you are definitely not going to make a 450 go fast.
So if you go watch a 100 race, every 100 race you watch, the first and second place guy are flying, right? They've got this figured out. They're flying. And everybody else is going... They're down and up and down and up and down. Because every time they load the front end goes down. It wants to go to the grass. And every time they ease up on the bars, the front end comes up. It's going to the grass on the other side, right? They can't get it to stay still because they're too aggressive with it. If they would just ease up, not even fix the front end, just ease up on inputs, it would fix everything. So what I'm trying to say in this video is, yes, body position is everything, but it's only everything once. As soon as you move up on the tank and sit where you're supposed to, body position's done. There is no body position anymore. Not for the average guy. Everything else is how much input you put in and how aggressive you are with it. If you wicked muscle it, it's going down, and then it's going to want to come back up. If you under muscle it, it's going to be slow in and take its time to get there, and then slow off. And once you get a handle on that and get a nice little rhythm going, then you can speed up a little, right? Which is what your guy was complaining about this video the last time, which is 10,000 words, we didn't say anything. Because we're really trying to say, if you do it right, then it becomes practice, and timing is everything, right? The shorter you make the steps, and the shorter you make the transitions, and the shorter you make everything, the faster you're going to go. You just can't go by any one piece, right? You over muscle it in, the front end's going down.
Yeah. Right? And I just don't know why I think the criticism might be valid, because I probably say all the time, hey, this is going to take a while. You're going to have to practice doing this.
Right.
You know, you can't just watch this video and solve your problem at the next.
I struggle when we go road racing. The parents always want to send the kids to every club race in the country and let them ride every single weekend. And I'm screaming at them, no, 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 no. They need to ride less. They need to ride when I am there. So every single lap they're on the racetrack, they get critiqued. Because otherwise, all they do is learn bad habits. Then when you're trying to get them to do the right thing, like the average guy sits way too far back. So the second you push him up on the seat, he's going to come in every single time and say, I don't like it. Like, of course you don't like it. It's finally doing what it's supposed to do. Every feeling it's giving you is different than what you're used to. But every feeling you know is wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense,
right?
For sure.
That's what I'm trying to change.
So what do? Do we get them to a school? I suggested having their buddy film them so they could actually see that they're not doing what they're...
I think they need to sit on the tank. They need to have some part of their frontal area sitting on the tank.
So wad up a rag and tape it?
Whatever, run a fucking bungee cord around you up to the front of the tank and hold yourself forward. You need to sit some part of the front of you, which obviously we can't say those words, needs to be sitting on the tank, right? Any motorcycle you bring to the racetrack needs to be sitting on the tank. Even my... You can't see it, but sitting right here is my 82 GPZ 1100 road race bike, vintage road race bike. Even that thing, when I get to fast sweeping turns, I'm freaking buried in the tank. I mean, like, it hurts, buried in the tank. That little bit of weight I can get on the front end, even though that thing is 7 feet long, makes it just woof through the turn like it's nothing.
All right, I think we've been talked long enough. I hope that was a different perspective from my last video. And Dale, thanks for ranting. It's
Thanks
awesome.
for letting me go on and on.
Thanks for watching.
And on and on.